And we're recording. Hello, everyone. Martin, how are you today?
Hello there.
I decided to ask you specifically this time. Otherwise, we're going to get a long pause where you sit in confusion.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Just took a swig of some water. Pop, as you can hear.
Water? You and me both, brother.
Oh, man, you should see me at work, man. Whoo, my gosh, I pee like 5 times a day because I just drink tea constantly for the constant caffeine.
You and me both. Well, I use coffee and water, so.
And it's weird because I feel self-conscious about it because I have to go by my office or cubicle is in the back. So I have to go by everybody when I go to the restroom. So like, man, does this guy have issues?
Here comes Martin with his big old bladder.
Yeah, and it's a situation. So I'm at a school, right? So they lock the bathrooms because, if you don't lock the bathrooms, kids will smoke weed in the bathrooms.
As one does.
So anyway, they're locked. So I have to go up to the first floor to go to the bathroom, or else I'd have to constantly get the key from the office of one of our colleagues. It's just awkward it'll be just awkward getting the key in front of everyone like 5-6 times a day.
Yo, Mrs. Wilson, I need that key because I got to go pee. You know me.
But at least my pee is not yellow E. Hey, buddy, I got my dog with me again today.
Hell yeah. How is the dog doing?
Oh, he's doing a lot better today.
He ain't
okay, buddy. But he's still farting.
He's still farting.
Oh, yeah, but he's a big guy. He's 110 pounds.
Ooh, big boy.
Yep. But he's full of love and whatever that stuff's coming out of his butthole.
Methane.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, buddy. Oh.
Very relatable, me and your dog.
Yeah, I can't stand. Dude, I'm the type of person where I don't do that in public. I don't even do it in front of my family. I'd rather just go to the bathroom, let one off, and then come back. That's how much I hate that aspect of our bodies.
Well, why do you hate that? Why do you hate that aspect so much of our bodies?
Yeah, it's just a little tick of mine, I guess.
Does it just fill you with revulsion or something? I feel
exactly. Revulsion, disgust, hatred, those type of things.
I feel like it's the most comical thing our bodies can do. Making like a random, loud, silly sound from your butthole that stinks.
It's rude and it's preposterous. No.
Rude and preposterous?
Disgusting. I hate being reminded that I'm a human, because I'm not God, but I'm something close to a God. So I hate being reminded that I'm a human.
Wow. What is it to be close to a God if not human?
I don't know. I just heard Roberto Duran say it one time and it kind of stuck with me.
Oh, okay.
Although I am kind of proud of myself yesterday at work. So on my lunch break, I took a 2-mile run.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you run, you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I had that feeling after I ran, right? Because I'm on lunch at work. So I clock back in and I'm like, damn it, I got to take a dump. So I go to the bathroom and there are 3 stalls. 2 stalls are filled, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, damn it, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. Because this is such a hard thing for me, right? It's such a hard thing. I'm like, I'm going to do it. Of course, I got my spray to mask the scent. I'm so proud of myself for that. Because I got past a tick of mine.
Okay.
Well, it just goes to show you. Because, going in public's always been hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that. It's a way I think about number 2 is it has to be private, right? Every person is the throne of their own bathroom. It has to be private. And it's like a sacred time. It's like you're praying.
Well,
if
it's private, it's supposed to be sacred, why are you talking about it?
I guess I'm just like proud of myself. I don't know. I'm allowed blowing myself sometimes.
I took a crap in the public bathroom, everyone. I'm so proud of myself. My mom wasn't there either for the first time.
I'm getting over my fears, you know?
Wow. I wish I had those fears. I wish I had your fears instead of the fears I have. Holy
Other
guacamole.
fears. I don't think I'm gonna solve those anytime soon.
You want to know one of my fears?
You share.
I'll tell you one of my fears. It's the middle of summer. I'm alone at Disney World.
Oh,
A place
wow.
I don't ever want to be ever.
Well, I hope you're in like little skimpy clothes. Not that I imagine you in that, but it's super hot in Disney World.
And I'm surrounded by Floridians and Midwesterners visiting.
Mostly tourists, though.
And they all have brought their hideous children.
Also, if it's summer, it's going to be raining a lot, so you're going to need your raincoat.
That's even worse.
Oh yeah,
But it's not. It's a humid, hot day, but there's no rain.
but just wear a beater. You know what I'm saying?
Just surrounded. But that's not the point. I'm surrounded by all these hideous people.
Yeah, with their kids.
They're nasty children. And
Yeah.
they're even nastier parents.
Yeah.
And their kids don't even want to be there because they're crying and screaming the whole time. It's more for the parents than it is for the children. Come on,
You got the creepy guys who grope the cast members.
Yeah, actually, I saw I think it was on Instagram or TikTok, like a girl getting too handsy with Gaston, or the dude playing Gaston.
Oh yeah.
You know, she kind of like puts her hands on his chest, you know, kind of around the nips.
That's not even his real chest. He wears a suit. He wears like a muscle suit.
I don't know, but she got too handsy with this dude. And he did not like that. And he's like, go, leave, now. And she keeps doing it. And he keeps like pushing her off. She's like, you're done. Leave. There are children here. And she's just like confused and laughing like, oh, what?
Well, the good thing about Gaston is he can be a jerk.
Well, I
mean, literally, his character can be a jerk, so he won't get in trouble.
Yeah, but I don't think that was a character. That was not a character moment. That man was not happy about this chick putting hands on his nips, his nip nops. Whether there's a suit or not, it clearly was violating this man's boundaries. And I will say, kudos to you, Disney worker, for pushing away the unwanted physical violation of a white girl attendee at Disney.
Yeah, good for them, man.
Good for him.
I've been to Disney World 3 times now.
Oh, yes, you have.
My wife is a Disney addict.
A Disney adult.
Sure. She's in it. Yeah, she is. She's been a Disney fanatic since she was a child. She got it from her aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And one of her fondest childhood memories is visiting Disney. And she's been I think 6 times. 6 times.
Jesus,
how
many damn times do you need to go to Disney?
Well, Disney is constantly changing. Constantly.
I mean, yeah, but still, like, I'm like the kind of guy who was like, you know, once is enough for me.
What, you been?
No.
Oh.
I'm never going to Disney. I don't care if I'm married or not. If I have a partner and they're like all about Disney, well, guess what? They're going to Disney by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I told her that, my wife, that one time too. She went with her sisters. I'm glad I didn't go. I mean, it's during the school year. Like, come on. I'll pay by the taxpayers to be here. I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be, not taking a vacation during the school year.
I'm actually looking at Urban Dictionary right now, and there are several entries for Disney adult.
Mm.
So the
And
first,
keep in mind out there, folks, we're talking about Disney World, which is different from Disneyland. Disneyland is in California. Disney World is in Orlando, Florida.
why do they call them different names? I don't
Well,
understand.
Disneyland was first,
Oh, okay.
and Disney World came about in the 70s. I think 1971, 71. And I
Oh,
think, yeah, and Disneyland was before that. And Disney World is also bigger.
okay, okay. That makes sense.
And and also from the reading that I sent you, it's its own city, literally.
Uh, like, it's its own municipality? Are you serious?
If I'm lying, I'm flying, and my feet have not hit the ground.
Man, what kind of, like,
This is
Gilded Age shit is that?
Woo!
Oh, I'm looking at it right now
I'm
where
busting
it's
up.
highlighted in your textbook. Will you
Yeah.
please tell us the name of the book again? We've mentioned it before on this podcast. That was apparently communist propaganda.
Oh, this communist socialist propaganda piece of crap document is called Global Problems and the Culture of Capitalism. Or is the culture of capitalism and global problems. Vice versa. It's that book.
That book. We're going to call it that book from
yeah.
now on.
Oh, yes.
But we're being ironic because we actually like this book.
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And let me give some credit to the author, too. Global Problems and the Richard Robbins. Richard Robbins.
Well, here's a golden paragraph from Richard Robbins.
Well, before you get there, though, this section in that book. So, hey, how about that? So let me go back. Let me go back a couple little pages here. Page 24. So this chapter that we're reading from is a chapter that talks about how the consumer was created in these capitalist societies. And one of the ways in which the consumer is created is socialization during childhood, at least in the United States of America. So the author is focusing on kinder culture in the United States of America. And this is a section within that chapter called The Child as Consumer and the role of children in capitalism. And Disney plays a huge role in that. So what's this subsection called? You want to tell the people?
Is this page 28?
Yeah, page 28.
All right. The Appropriation of Childhood, Part 2. Walt Disney and the Creation of Disney World. Should I begin reading the paragraph?
If you'd like.
It is difficult to say when the child's universe, created to turn children into consumers, began to be used to entice adults. Perhaps the glorification of youth in advertising and the upward extension of childhood to include the teens were manifestations of this phenomenon. Regardless, the appropriation of childhood as a vehicle to encourage consumption at all ages and rationalize capitalism culminated in the creation of Walt Disney World.
Ooh, hold on. We got to pause right there because, man, that's some deep stuff.
That's not even the highlighted section, though.
Yeah, that's... Wow.
Disney and other major American corporations have created what Shirley Steinberg and Joseph Kinchello called kinderculture, the promotion of an ethos of pleasure for the purpose of enticing adults as well as children to consume.
Yeah, it's almost like you're advertising to adults that they can be children again.
Yes, you
It's just
too.
so weird, man, because when you're a child, you want to be grown, and when you're grown, you want to be a child. It's like, where's the middle ground here?
But why is it like that though? Because when I think about that, I'm like, I don't want to be.
Oof.
I never want to be a child. I remember my childhood. I don't want to relive that shit.
Well, I think I don't know if the word catch 22 is right. Um, but it's it's strange to me because I wouldn't mind going back to being a child and this is a big booty if I knew what I knew now. So if you could make my superior mind into my childhood self, I'd go back and child in a New York minute.
Hmm.
I'd be young again, and I know what I like, as opposed to, well, I found out what I really like to do in life when I was 35. Oh shit, but I'm 35. Crap.
But do you have to be that young though? Like how
Well, hell
young?
yeah, get an early start.
How young are you talking about, Mister?
Oh, I mean like child. Well, to me, because I teach teenagers, I consider even the students that I teach, and they're considered teenagers. I consider them children.
Well,
The way I see
they
it,
are
yeah.
children, like not just legally, but neurologically speaking.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, man, even if you ain't graduated high school, to me, you're a child. I, well, I don't. Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to exclude people who have not graduated high school or people who dropped out because I really don't see. I support their decision to drop out of high school. I'm supportive of that.
It
But I'm just
depends.
saying,
It all depends.
yeah, I'm just saying when you're that children, they're children to me, my students.
See, it sounds like you're talking about something completely different than what they're talking about in
Oh
the
yeah,
text
yeah, you're right.
because you're talking about being able going back in time and redoing things but better.
Yeah.
Whereas Disney and other big businesses are creating like a culture that it's meant to be to get you to consume their products by selling you childhood,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
by
And so
marketing
all they want you to
childhood.
do is to consume, buy.
Because at the end of the day, this is still advertising. This is still marketing. The purpose of
Mm,
advertising and marketing, at least for big businesses, is to get you to consume a product or service.
hmm Yeah.
So, yeah, that is, I mean, yeah, that's been going on for a long, long time. Um, it's really weird because, again, I don't really ever want to go back to my there are things I like about my childhood, but I would
Yeah.
never want to like ever go back to being a child.
Mm.
Even if it gave me the opportunity to redo things, I still don't think I would want to.
Yeah, I'd love to go back to my early 20s, man.
Like early 20s maybe, but anyway, Walt Disney World is the ultimate sand painting of the culture of capitalism. Instead of a single sand painter using bits of colored sand and grain to create a picture barely large enough to contain a single person, a corporation has used millions of tons of concrete, wood, plastic, and glass to create the home of childhood. A miniature universe that promotes the innocence and trust that allows people to leave the quote unquote real world behind, and that encourages, in fact, insists, that participants put themselves in the hands of Disney. Oh, it's starting to get a little ominous now.
You mean?
However, as Stephen Fellman warned, Disney literally wants you to let them wipe your ass. Just kidding. He actually doesn't say that. I made that up. However, as Stephen Fellman warned, these hands bear watching, for in their shaping of things lies danger. It is not just that our movements are constrained with the promise, usually fulfilled, of rewards. What is important is that our thoughts are constrained. They are channeled not only in the interests of Disney itself, but also in the interests of the large corporations with which Disney has allied itself, the system of power they maintain, and the world of commodities that is their life's blood.
That was very ominous.
No shit, that sounds like Orwellian.
Yeah.
I would have preferred it to have just been what I just jokingly said about, like, putting so much trust in Disney that you'll just let a random Disney worker, like, clean you up after you have an accident. And here's the one where you make some very big, important notes here.
Oh, I actually have a book about this entire thing. I haven't read it yet, but this book is talking about the creation of Disney World. But I want to read that first, but yeah.
What if Mickey Mouse is actually a Cadillo? If we look beyond the pleasantries, says Feldman, we find that the environment is totally controlled and that there is a degree of discipline at work in this model world that rivals the discipline of a fascist state.
Whoa. Wow.
Did this guy fucking really compare the model that Disney World has to the Third Reich?
Holy shit.
Or like fascist Italy or Spain? And the control is real. In creating Walt Disney World, the Disney Corporation secretly brought 40 square miles of secretly bought 40 square miles of Central Florida real estate, twice the size of Manhattan, and was granted almost feudal powers over the lands by the state. I fucking hate Florida. Only Florida will allow this bullshit to fucking happen. Disney World has its own government. It sets the rules, and it controls the message. But what is the message of the Disney World sand painting? To answer the question, let's examine two aspects of Disney World: its depiction of American history and its representation of progress and the future. Boy, I wonder how Disney depicts Mexican and Texas history.
They got Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett.
Yeah.
King of the wild frontier.
I think that's a good point to stop, though, in case we want to do an entire episode on Disney.
No, I think this is actually a good... Yeah, well, I want to read this last part that you've highlighted, and then I think a good point to start. History, or distory, as Mike Wallace called it, is everywhere at Walt Disney World, appropriated, like childhood, in the service of the Disney message. The history, of course, is highly idealized. At Disney World, historical figures such as Thomas Edison, Davy Crockett, Benjamin Franklin, and Mark Twain are used as spokespersons for Disney, lending their authority to the Disney message. Well, actually, that is a very interesting point. If we kind of look back at where Feldman makes this connection to the level, basically the comparison to a fascist state, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when he made that comparison of Disney to a fascist state, he's kind of talking about the discipline and control it exercises in its model of governance, right?
Yeah.
But fascism is interesting in the sense that it also relies on a highly idealized, almost completely fictional vision of the past.
Yes.
A completely
dystory. Yeah, dystory.
Yeah, it literally relies on dystory in order to get its followers to believe its message, essentially.
And it praises the state, or in the context of Disney, the corporation, the Disney message.
Right.
Ooh, so deep.
Yeah, like for example, like the Third Reich obviously had this history where, this proud Germanic Aryan tradition, which never really existed in any stretch, But it also had in that false idealized history victimization, right? Victimization by, like the Jews, for example.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in what kind of messages that Disney is trying to sell. Who are the bad guys in Disney's messaging, if any? Like, Disney has very basic bad villains, I think. Maybe it's kind of changed recently in recent years. It just kind of depends on the specific stuff they put out.
Yeah, I wonder too if they're gonna tell like the real shit, like the Jim Crow laws and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they produced some racist shit too in the past. I'm sure Disney would us to forget about. Fragments of Abraham Lincoln's speeches, most often taken out of context, are read to us by robots. And Leonardo da Vinci, the Disney model of the prophetic visionary, is everywhere. At Disney World, there is a conscious attempt to present the history of capitalism without the warts. Disney World designers are quite forthright and unapologetic about their intent. As one Disney spokesperson explained, "We are not telling history like it really was, but as it should have been." I think that's the perfect place to stop there. What should have been. But that's not really what they're actually putting out in the world, though. Like, when you are taking your hideous, stupid family to Disney, right? And you're going on these, like, little tours or whatever they are, and the Robo Ben Franklin and the Robo Abraham Lincoln are giving these, like, idealized versions of American history. Well, they're not consuming that with, the idea in mind that history should have been this way. They're consuming it with the idea in mind that history actually was this way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's reinforcing what they already probably believe about history. Davey.
Yeah, that was the PR spokesman who said that we see history the way it should be, but it's a good example of historiography, the writing of history, or not even, this isn't even writing in this case, but it's still a good example of historiography, how we quote unquote do history.
Yeah. Oh my God, I could keep reading on and on.
Man.
Somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. This book will make you think. It will challenge you. This freaking socialist communist book. It's chock full of things that will make you think, and it's backed up by a lot of scholarly evidence, as opposed to conspiracy theories on the internet, which is just backed up by. Have you seen this YouTube video?
What does Conservapedia have to say about Disney? Too woke.
Wait, well, that's it. Let's take our listeners on a ride. Let me go to Conservapedia.
I'm doing it right now.
All right, I'm going to go with you. So, what should we look up? Disney? Just Disney or Disney?
I'm going to look up Disney World.
Okay. I got the Walt Disney Company.
I'm looking at Disney World. There's nothing really interesting or funny. They don't really have anything funny. It's just very boring.
Well, according to Wikipedia, and of course there's no citation for this, Walt Disney, while Mr. Disney was socially conservative, Walt Disney, the founder of Walt Disney, the man Walt Disney, while he was socially conservative, the company is now a secular progressive organization, courtesy of liberal Michael Eisner, as well as continued and even doubled down by Robert Iger.
This is Conservapedia, by the way.
This is Conservapedia. So take it with a grainful of shit. So, or handful of shit. Did I say grainful? Yeah. This ultimately came to a head in 2017 when the Beauty and Beast live action remake film, as well as a Disney Channel animated show, Star versus the Forces of Evil, included overt homosexual propaganda.
Gay! Disney's turning yo kids gay! It's in the very first paragraph. Of course, it doesn't fucking cite anything. It's just like, nope.
Well, it only has three citations for this paragraph, but nothing about Disney being overtly homosexual propaganda. No citation about that. So also, in addition to shilling out homosexual propaganda, Disney is also thanking China's Communist Party slave masters in a gulag for authorizing filming near their forced labor camp. So they're Chinese infiltrated. Oh boy.
They're collaborators with the Chinese Communist Party.
Wait a minute, this is rich.
Let's see where
Tuck Carlson.
Oh my god. They're doing
what?
Remember, this is another example of lateral reading that we're going to do. We're looking at their sources here because they made a few citations here. One is a YouTube video by Newsmax TV.
Oh boy.
I'm not watching this. It's Newsmax. It's about the Mulan world premiere. The other one that they cited for that is PJ Media, which the first thing I see before I actually can read anything are like advertisements for leather boots, wallets, phone holders, an air fryer ad, and then the actual headline. Disney's Mulan reboot thanks Chinese group in charge of Muslim re-education camps. I mean, this is Conservapedia. Wouldn't they be actually cool with that? It doesn't get any more tone deaf than this.
Oh boy.
Disney has apparently worked hand in glove with those who run Uyghur concentration camps in Xinjiang province, where numerous human rights violations have been cataloged. I mean, I've actually heard about this before, so this is not necessarily like I actually. Oh, let's see here. It looks like they quote something from the BBC article. The Walt Disney film Mulan gave thanks and its credit to the very same Turpan Public Security Bureau that human rights groups say manages constructions of the camps and hiring police to staff them. I've actually never seen this movie, so I can't confirm whether that's actually in the credits or not.
But I trust BBC.
Yeah. Actually, it does. Wow, actually, that's the first fucking time I've seen a Conservapedia article, actually. I don't know why they just didn't fucking cite the BBC article instead.
Yeah, why'd they go with PJ Media? Like,
who the fuck even is PJ Media?
It says conservative journalism. And you click on their main page and I want you to donate to defend conservative journalism. Why is journalism conservative or liberal anyway?
Yeah, that seems a little sus. Damn, Conservapedia does not like Disney.
No, they do not.
Homosexual propaganda. Oh, God. It was uncovered by Tucker Carlson that the Walt Disney Company implemented far-left woke policies, including seminars claiming that America was founded on systemic racism, encouraging the usage of white privilege checklists for employees, and also segregating minorities into various affinity groups, among others.
We need to fact-check this.
It's Tucker fucking Carlson.
Oh my God. One of their citations is a Twitter post.
One's from Twitter.
Oh my God.
One's a Daily Mail article. American Thinker.
Oh my gosh.
A couple of these are from a blog about Disney.
I'm gonna go look this up on PolitiFact.
New
fact
video.
check.
Shanghai Disney resorts open. Okay. Damn, they hate Disney. Disney movie stables include Walt Disney Pictures, maker of family films and cartoons for children, Touchstone Pictures, many rated R films, including anti-Catholic, pro-homosexual The Priest, established 1984, Hollywood Pictures, Pixar, 20th Century Fox, TV networks it owns, and some other. It's actually pretty short.
This is one of the big problems I do have with Disney. It's just they're wanting to monopolize entertainment.
Yeah. In addition to the anti-Catholic, pro-homosexual propaganda. There's an article about Toy Story.
If you can hear the water, that's my dog. He's drinking.
Slurp, 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 slurp.
I thought that was on your end.
Nope, that's your dog.
Yeah.
Wow, their Toy Story article is like a single paragraph. Okay, that's enough Conservapedia. We're giving them too much attention. Otherwise, it'll become another Conservapedia episode, and I don't want that.
Yeah, going down that big old rabbit hole. Woo, 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 woo.
But since we're talking about media, let's talk about some media that we actually enjoy. So, in the US, Dune's coming out October 22nd?
Okay. Oh, yeah. 22nd. Well, 21st, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, 21st.
In some places, it's the 21st. In others, it's October 22nd. And I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too.
So, it's like part one in like a 2 or 3 part series, I think. Oh, no, it's a 2-part adaptation. 2-part adaptation.
Good. That's the better. And for those of you out there who don't know what Dune is, where have you been underneath a Dune? Because Dune is a fantastic novel. I wouldn't. It has science fiction elements, but I see Dune more as political intrigue more than anything.
Yeah, it's a, I guess you could call it, would you consider Dune a space opera? Because Star Wars...
all the books together.
Yeah, Star Wars is considered a space opera, but Dune, maybe. But yeah, like Dune has influenced so much in modern pop culture that you actually have to really look at it sometimes. Like Star Wars borrowed a lot from Dune.
Oh yeah.
Like a whole lot. Like the easiest example of that is the planet Tatooine, being a desert world.
Yeah, desert world.
Yeah. Gosh, what else was borrowed from Dune? Warhammer 40,000 borrows a lot from Dune as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not the original Dune, but from the original series anyway.
Mm.
So, for all of you who have lived under a sand dune and don't know what Dune is, it's a 1965 science fiction novel by science fiction novelist Frank Herbert. And originally it was meant to be published as 2 separate serials and a magazine called Analog back in the day. I think it won a Hugo Award, or it tied with another book for a Hugo Award in 1966. But the skinny of Dune, if you will, is that it's the story based in the far, far flung future where humans more or less have settled different parts of the galaxy. Human civilization is very diverse, and it spans across the galaxy, what is occasionally referred to in the story as the known universe. And in this setting, there is a galactic empire of sorts. And this empire is, I guess you could say it's very feudalistic.
Oh, it's a backstabbing pieces of shit.
Yeah, if you want like straight up court intrigue, Dune,
oh, hell yeah.
Dune has you covered. If you like court intrigue, read some Dune. If you like science fiction stuff, read some Dune.
Yeah. If you like hero complexes, read some Dune. If you like drugs, read some Dune.
If you like drugs, read some Dune.
Because you can get high. So the main drug in Dune is this thing called melange, also known as spice. And this spice, you take this spice and it'll make your toes curl. You know what I'm saying? Like Betty in Too Short song. It'll make you. She's the kind of girl to make your toes curl. So it'll make your toes curl. And if you take too much spice, you get addicted to it. You take enough, you can literally bend time and space and travel long distances in space.
That's right. The space drug not only gives you the best high, expands your lifespan, and gives you powers to bend space-time, but it's also the equivalent of petroleum for the most part. Like, the whole human civilization runs on this stuff. Without the spice, nothing works. You're stuck going at, like, crappy, like, sublight speed, and it takes thousands and thousands of years to travel in real time. And so spice is not just a drug, it's also a fuel source, it's also a geriatric substance because it expands human lifespan. And it gives you superpowers sometimes, you know, because in some cases you can actually be granted prescience, you know, the ability to see into the future. Or at least that's the case with the main character, Paul Atreides, who is definitely not a social commentary on the idea of heroes and charismatic figures being super dangerous to societies.
Yeah. It's weird too because if you look at this Dune book, there really are no good quote unquote good guys or bad guys. But there's plenty of bad guys. I mean, you got this fat fuck. Oh, there I go again.
Yo, body shaming.
This is not meant to be offensive to any fat people, but this is meant to be offensive to the fictional character of Baron Harkonnen. So that fat fuck, you fat ass, Baron Harkonnen he's a warlord of his planet. He rules the planet. He is a pedophile. He is a murderer. So there aren't, and Paul, you might think, well, he's a good guy. Well, the prophecy is that Paul will, literally kill billions of people. So
he will lead a holy army that will be completely fanatic and actually beyond his own control, no matter what he does or says. And they will wage a holy war across the known universe until all of human civilization has been brought to heel. And billions and billions of people die, and he's kind of responsible for it. So, like, Dune has likable characters. It does not even entertain the notion of morally good characters like you would find in, like, Star Wars. Like,
there's nobody fighting for good stuff.
They're
all fighting for power.
There is no light or dark side in Dune. That it does not. No, it is moral gray all over the place, and you just, if that's not your thing, well, guess what? It's probably not for you. But
still, I think we can all learn something. So, I mean, to close this section, I think we can all learn something.
Yeah, like, I have read Dune at least like 4 times.
Well, and you read all of the other Frank Herbert books too that followed Dune.
Yeah,
I haven't.
I haven't read his son's work, but I've read the first Dune like 4 or 5 times, and I've read all the other original Dune sequels that followed. It gets progressively weirder. Not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. What are you telling me?
It gets peak weird probably around the 5th or 6th book.
I remember you telling me.
No kidding. But Dune is worth your time to read. But anyway, the Denis Villeneuve adaptation is coming out in October 22nd or 21st, depending where you are. In some places, it's already come out. And the reviews are lit. So it's got a big, big name cast. You got, like, Dave Bautista. You got Timothée Chalamet.
Oh, his cute butt.
You got Zendaya. You got who else? Crap, why am I forgetting one of the big characters?
Well, it's got my dude Batista in it. It's got
It's got Jason Momoa in it. You like
yeah.
you like your Jason Momoa? You like your Game of Thrones? Well, guess what? He's gonna be in it too. You got Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac. Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson. Y'all like Rebecca Ferguson, don't you? You like Stephen McKinley Henderson. I think he's going to be Thufir Hawat. It's going to be awesome. Awesome stuff. So, yeah.
But I think maybe we'll do an episode about our review of the movie.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
And how well it is to the book. Because we've actually read the book.
Oh, yeah. Hell, might as well do like one of the book too while we're at it. Yeah. Maybe we will do a Dune episode in the future.
Well, why the heck not? But I think, you know what? I think we've been doing preliminaries. Let's get to the main event.
Oh,
for our topic today.
We're getting into this earlier than normal, folks. We're continuing part 3? Part 4?
Yeah.
Part 4.
Yeah. Well, this may be the last.
We'll see.
Because right now we're going to be at the Texas Revolution, and we've not just had and for today.
This is part 4. That's right, part 4.
Oh, part 4. Yeah. So we have primary sources too to go along.
And if you're into history, you know that's the good stuff.
That's where that's
primary
sources, the people who were there on both sides of the issue. There are good sides on both sides of the issue. Good people. Well, I just wanted to say that.
Sometimes you will find that. Sometimes you will find moral gray, as we see in Dune, and sometimes you just see shit where there's clearly a bad guy. Which, granted, if you're like a history scholar, you would say, "Hey, you probably may want to avoid saying good guys, bad guys in history."
Yep.
But let's be real. The Third Reich were bad guys.
Well, I mean,
Christopher Columbus was a bad dude.
Oh, yeah. Happy Indigenous Day, too, to those indigenous people left out there.
Happy Indigenous Day while it still lasts, everybody.
Have you ever seen that Sopranos episode where Furio, the Italian guy, says, we hate Christopher Columbus in the South?
No.
Oh, yeah. No, it was very interesting because this episode, right? Furio is actually an Italian dude from southern Italy. Is he in Sicily? No, I think he's southern Italy. Anyway, so Furio, so it's Columbus Day on that episode of The Sopranos. I think it's the 4th season, if I'm not mistaken, or 5th. But anyway, it's Columbus Day, right?
Yeah.
And they're all outside of Satrielli's meat market, and they're talking about Christopher Columbus. And then Furio, an actual Italian guy, right, from Italy, he says, I hate Christopher Columbus. He says, we snub our nose at him. He from the north. We're from the south. And then he actually goes into the fact that northern Italy is so rich, is the more rich part of the country, and southern Italy is seen as the more backwards area.
Yeah.
And how the southerners hate the north.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's very interesting. It kind of relates to what we're talking about here. Because Columbus was from Genoa, Italy.
Yeah, he was an Italian.
He's an Italian dude working for the Spanish. He was the OG of killing, stealing, and slaving.
Oh yeah.
I mean, imagine Christopher Columbus had a rap album, right? And it would be titled "Killing, Stealing, and Slaving." I can just imagine the track list on that rap album. It would be something like, I'm chilling with my homies down here in the islands. I see these dudes and they've got a big old, I don't know. I put myself on the spot.
It's like, this is a dude who thought he landed in Asia.
Yeah. Well,
I found a way to the Indies.
And guess what he wanted? Spices.
Yes.
Speaking of Dune, see how all this is relating, y'all? It's not random.
He was looking for sandworms.
He was wanting to make that money. But we could do an episode on Christopher Columbus too, man. Because
Oh,
all we'd have to
yeah.
do is look at the primary source from his own chicken liver lips. We would just look at what he wrote in his diary, and that would make you say, this guy's a fucking asshole.
He's a bad meatball.
Yeah, and people talk about his first voyage, but this bro, he made 4 voyages, and he was even arrested by the Spanish government because of the harsh, the brutal regime that he left I think his brother in charge on Hispaniola.
Yeah.
It got so bad the Spanish said, dude, arrest him.
Imagine, like, being arrested by the same government that would later on become the Spanish Empire, who would literally, like, do all the same evil shit to, like, all the indigenous populations that it crossed. Like, damn, if that's not some irony, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, Columbus was a bad man, and I don't mean that in the good way, the Ali way.
He's a fucking rotten, stinky meatball.
No offense to Italians out there.
He's a nasty rigatoni.
Hey, come on. You're talking to me and fat shaming. You're Italian shaming over here.
I'm Italian shaming?
Come on.
Who am I shaming for being Italian?
You're doing Italian stereotypes.
What? You do Italian stereotypes all the time.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe I'm Italian. I don't know. I'm waiting on my 23andMe.
Maybe you're just an Italophobe. Have you ever considered that?
Hey, I love everybody. I love Italians. I love Jewish people. I love everybody, man. I even love people on Conservapedia. Peace and love. I'm about peace and love, man.
Well, while you're about peace and love, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. So, would you like to lead us into the main topic today?
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, give me your hand and your ears because I'm about to lead y'all. So, all right, main event time. Ding, 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 ding. Ring the bell because it's about to be on like Donkey Kong in the words of Ice Cube. Yeah, he originated that. So, what are we going to do here, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the main event. We're going to finish up here the Texas Revolution. So we've been building up, right? Because we love building. We're carpenters over here. We've been building up to this for 3 episodes. Last episode, go back and listen to it. We talked about Mexican Texas. Mexican Texas, what you talking about, Willis? Well, what I'm talking about here with Mexican Texas is we're talking about Texas when it was part of the Mexican government. Before the Texans revolted and created their own country, I guess you could call it, before they became a part of the United States of America. So in the last episode, we set up that. We did all of that to introduce this question, which we explored in the last episode. Why did the Texans revolt against the Mexican government? And for that, we're going to do a historical analysis in this mother, and we're going to look at some primary sources from 5 different people who were there on both sides of the issue. And I wish I had a soundboard because I would cue former President Orange's anus face. I would cue him saying,
Bazinga.
There are, you know how he said, there are a good people on both sides of the issue. So I'm going to cue that there. I like that soundboard. But anyway, that's what we're going to talk about. Why did Texans revolt against the Mexican government? And so where do we leave off? Well, let's look at my notes. So last episode, we left off with the Mexican government giving into pressure from the Anglo-American immigrants that had flooded into Texas. And these Anglo-American immigrants, they primarily wanted a lot more independence because they wanted basically to keep slaves.
And they were getting that independence too, bit by bit.
Yeah, because the Mexican government is giving into their pride and giving into them.
Bending over backwards for the most part until like around the time of the presidency of was he the third or the fourth president? He was President Anastasio Bustamante.
Speaking of Italian names.
Speaking of very Italian-sounding people.
I feel like Bustamante could be a crime family name. The Bustamante.
The Bustamante family. The fourth president of Mexico. When he started to kind of crack down on some of the slavery that was occurring. Because, remember, in this time, the state of Coahuila y Tejas, as it was still called.
Yeah, Tejas, yeah.
Many of the Anglo settlers, the economy there was primarily slavery driven. It was a slave economy. And at the time, the Mexican government was trying to crack down on slavery.
Well, in the Mexicans already, in their government, the Mexican government already outlawed slavery.
Yeah, during the presidency of the second president of Mexico, Vicente Guerrero.
Yeah. But it's not good enough for these immigrants. These goddamn immigrants always coming to the other people's country and taking over.
Yeah, like a certain group of white people.
Yeah, like Stephen F. Austin and Sam Houston.
Yeah, so
we talked about them last episode, and when we left off, remember Austin actually went to prison. The Mexican government jailed his ass.
Yeah, and let's also keep in mind too, at this time, a lot of these company men, these empresarios as they were called, they were entrepreneurs essentially. They held a lot of individual power, enough to literally raise their own militias to help defend towns, maintain order in towns. It's basically it's like a libertarian paradise, right? You got slavery, you have rich men, small government, the works. It's almost like an anarcho-capitalist heaven.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I think about the drug business. I'm like, if we want a truly laissez-faire government, keep your hands off my business, the drug game, man.
Yeah. So
I say drug, I mean illegal drugs.
I'm trying to pull up your earlier notes too, by the way. There they are. Whoop.
Because last time we left off, we had more Anglo-American immigrants. Illegal. Well, were they illegal aliens? Were they? Yeah. Wait a minute. I think they were illegal.
Because at one point,
if we want to call immigrants illegal, which I don't like doing, but
so this I think was sometime after 1829 when. Let me see here. Let me get my dates right. Yeah, it was probably around that time when the Mexican government was trying to disincentivize immigration into Texas.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see.
Bustamante, I'm looking further up in my notes. Bustamante, like you said, he disincentivized Anglo-American immigration in Texas. He prohibited further immigration to Texas from the United States. But guess what? Those quote-unquote illegal immigrants, they kept going into Texas.
Yeah, and they were bringing slaves with them.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't mind immigration. Like we talked before, borders, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to bring slaves into the country, your ass should be kicked out with your slave having ass.
The slaves get citizenship though, and freedom, of course.
Oh yeah. Oh well, I mean, if you want to keep people enslaved,
right? And So basically, while this is all happening, these settlers, these whatever you want to call them, are finding ways to skirt around Mexican law. So, for example, some would have the legal status of their slaves change into indentured servants for life.
Yeah.
And some would actually just call or say their slaves are just indentured servants without actually going through the legal process to change their status. Other times they would, let me see here, slaveholders wishing to enter Mexico would force their slaves to sign contracts claiming the slaves owed money and would work to pay the debt. The low wages the slave would receive made repayment impossible, and the debt would be inherited, even though no slave would receive wages until age 18. This tactic, I'm reading your notes by the way, this tactic was outlawed by an 1832 state law, which prohibited worker contracts from lasting more than 10 years. A small number of slaves were illegally imported from the West Indies or Africa. The British consul estimated that in the 1830s, approximately 500 slaves had been illegally imported into Texas. By 1836, there were approximately 5,000 slaves in Texas. So, 1836, these motherfuckers are just still booming that slave population. The caucasity.
Whoa, that's a new word. What? Caucasity.
Yes. It's like audacity, but for white people.
The caucasity. Oh, interesting. Caucasity of these brothers that come into my land. Don't like them. They can go eat some sand.
So, this is, again, still around the presidency of Bustamante, who became president largely in part of a coup that killed the previous liberal president, Vicente Guerrero, and ousted the interim very short, I think he was only president for 5 awesome. The third president was only there for 5 days before he was replaced by Bustamante, Italian mob boss of Mexico, who may or may not have actually been Italian.
Yeah. It's a badass name now, Bustamante.
I'm just looking at his painting, though, his official portrait. This man is very much has mob boss energy.
Let me look this motherfucker up, yeah.
The way he's just kind of sitting, standing all reclined. He's got the pouty lips. He's got the dark eyes. The way he's kind of just, he's looking fancy.
Mexico. There's a lot of Bustamantes when you look it up on Google Images.
You don't say.
Yeah, I can kind of see him being like Vito Corleone.
No kidding.
So yeah, I guess where we left off is when in 1832 when Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna led an insurrection against this Bustamante dude. And why this is important is because many of those Anglo settlers, those quote unquote illegal immigrants, they supported Santa Anna against Bustamante because they figured, well, if Santa Anna comes into power, maybe we can, maybe he'll give us the freedom to own slaves and get more slaves. And those Anglo settlers wanted a new government that would encourage more immigration from the United States and let them keep their slaves, essentially.
Yes.
So the big event is when Santa Anna was elected president of Mexico on January 19th, 1833. A convention was called this same year. And this is where we start to see the cause for a separate state of Texas. Texas wants to be their own country. They don't want to be united. We're not with the USA yet. Texas wants to separate from Mexico and be their own country. And so that's where we're at.
So we're starting around what, 1833, more or less?
And we're starting with that convention that was called, and this convention was attended by people like Sam Houston, a Texan hero. I, in quotation marks, I use that. And he was appointed a commission to draft a new constitution for the Mexican state of Texas and select delegates to represent Texas in the Mexican federal government. And guess who was chosen to deliver the proposed new Constitution of Texas to Santa Ana?
Drum roll.
Stephen F. Austin. Our friend, Stephen F. Austin.
Stephen Stone Cold Austin.
Well, I wouldn't put that. Well, damn, son. What? Can you imagine him saying that to Santa Ana? What?
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 I refuse to learn Spanish. I don't understand you. What?
What? Damn, Santa Ana, we can't have our own government over here.
What?
But anyway, guess what, though? This doesn't go well because Austin gets arrested. What? On suspicion of treason on November 21st, 1833. And he's in prison for about a year.
Oof. He's spending time in Mexican jail. Where is he in prison at? Mexico City? Or I don't think it's Mexico City.
I'm not sure. I didn't take note of that. And so this is causing those immigrants, those Anglo-American immigrants, to be more radical, right? This is let's get our guns, let's get out and fight for independence. And so Santa Ana, he's becoming more like a dictator in the meantime.
Yeah.
And he's starting to see that these immigrants in Texas, they're dangerous. These aren't some wimps, right? These are some people who can fight because they had experience, like we mentioned in the last episode. They have experience with fighting with against Native Americans. So they got experience, they got money from slavery, and they got guns, and lots of them. Because if there's anything about Texas, the fucking flag of Texas should have a gun on it. It should have here's what the flag of Texas should have. It should have a big pair of titties on a star, and in between those titties is a gun, a freaking rifle. That should be the flag of Texas, right? That should be the flag of Texas right there. Boom.
Damn.
Because you got everything that we know about Texas. Not the Texans, but those people in Texas who believe that stuff. We're talking about those. It's got sexism with the big titties, and it's got the love of guns with the gun in between the titties. That should be the flag of Texas. A big old Lone Star with some titties on it and a gun right in the middle, a rifle right in the middle. There you go.
Martin, how the fuck are we ever going to have a respectable guest on when you're talking about the flag of Texas should be like what you just described?
Come on. It has the sexism and it has the gun loving nut. Come on, it's perfect.
If you say so.
Well, you can edit that out if you want.
I lost my damn thought because you went on this fucking tangent.
Anyway, so the Mexican government at this time, they're seeing that these immigrants, let's call them settlers. These settlers, they mean business. And so they're trying to give in. So Santa Ana is trying to give in to them. The government is bending over backwards, and it's still not enough. So give them an inch, and they'll take a mile. And that was just a review, I think, of the last episode.
Yeah, for the most part. So yeah. I think I think it would be good to transition back to the Mexican side of things, right? So, because we're talking about the government of Santa Ana at this point, a lot has happened. So, and there's a lot leading up to the revolution in terms of the government, which kind of helped contribute to the great insurrection, if you will. So, when Santa Ana becomes president, despite the later dictatorial approach that he has, he's actually not really too interested in governing. He was more interested in the title and power, but not the actual work of being a president.
Yeah.
According to Mexican historian Enrique Krause. I think it's Krause or Cruz. I'm going to say Enrique Cruz, just to be safe. It annoyed him and bored him, and perhaps frightened him. A biographer of Santa Anna describes him in this period as the absentee president. So we're getting an impression that this guy is like, he hates this work. He likes being a Napoleon, but he doesn't really like being the president, despite being the president.
Oh, yeah.
So his vice president, Valentin Gomez Farias, takes over the responsibility of actually being the governor of the nation, while Santa Anna is kind of chilling in his hacienda in Veracruz, what's called the Manga de Clavo. So Gomez Farias, just to give you an idea of, their political ideologies, more or less, Farias was more of a moderate, but the Congress at the time that he's kind of wrestling against is much more radical and more liberal than either he or Santa Anna.
Well, wait a minute. Are we talking about the two fighting forces in the Mexican federal government, the Federalist and the Centralist?
I don't know yet, honestly.
Oh, okay.
But maybe if I read more, we'll get to that. So Mexico at this time is facing a big old financial crisis. At this time, the nation's treasury was practically empty, and it was the Bustamante government that came before it left an 11 million peso debt, which sounds about right for any conservative government. Talk about reducing debt, but actually leaving more debt.
We probably spent more on the military.
Yeah, actually. So nobody could afford to cut back on the bloated expenses of the army, so they start to seek out other sources of revenue. So they take a chapter out of the late colonial Spanish reforms. Remember something along the lines of the Bourbon reforms and all the problems that caused. Well, to get some extra money, they set their eyes on the Roman Catholic Church, which is a big political player in Mexico.
They got money out the butthole, man.
Yeah. So one of the major trends in the political sphere of Mexico at this time was good old-fashioned anti-clericalism,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we love us some anti-clericalism. And the church...
And that's what I'm thinking it is.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a big, important aspect in Mexican liberalism at this time. Liberalism in Mexico. So remember, Bustamante's government was very conservative. So the church offered a lot of support to his government. So given that this is a new government in power, the government starts to target the Catholic Church. So one of the things that the government does is it abolishes tithing, which in this context is a 10% tax on agricultural products and production.
Oh, okay.
Which apparently at one point was a legal obligation during the Bustamante government. So the state also begins to seize church property and finances. Additionally, the church was also highly responsible for education. So the state, to reduce church influence, starts to cut back more and more on the church's role in education. And in fact, they actually end up closing the Royal and Pontifical University of Mexico at this time. So, needless to say, these are all moves by the Santa Anna government that is kind of pissing off the conservative parties here in Mexico. So Gomez, let's see here. Gomez Farias seeks to extend these reforms to the more frontier provinces, which Mexico has a lot of time enforcing authority and policies on, because in places like Alta California, it's very difficult to actually enforce certain forms of legislation. These are settlements in places that are, I don't know if the term sparsely populated really works, but they're not very heavily populated. They're not, they're hardly what you would call urban. So it's very hard to really kind of control and maintain, especially given the vast swath of territory that Mexico has at this time. Like, it is massive, especially compared to what the United States has. It is like the largest country in North America, or just America, period, at this time.
This is interesting because what you're talking about, to sum up what you said there, this is a conflict between what are called, in Mexican history, the Federalist and the Centralist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because once Valentin Gomez Farias, that's his name, right? Farias?
Yeah, Farias.
Yeah, Farias. Oh, yeah, Farias. Oh, yeah, because of the accents. I'm tripping. Because once Farias, as vice president, does this stuff, right, that impacts the Mexican army and the Catholic Church, the centralists, right, who want a stronger central government, they basically have Santa Anna abandon his retirement, and Santa Anna agrees, and he leads a reaction against this liberalization because Santa Anna is fighting more for the people who want, like you said, a more conservative approach to a more conservative. They're called the centralist.
Mm-hmm.
Farias, he's more of the federalist in his program of liberalization. And one of the things in my notes that I wrote, which I found extremely interesting, is that once Santa Anna comes back, Farias and his federalist supporters, including this Mexican general Jose Antonio Mejia, they flee into exile in the United States. And some went to New Orleans, where they plan to resist the centralist government. And this is the backdrop of the Texas Revolution.
We're slowly but surely getting into it.
So that's interesting to me, especially how they're going into the United States. So this immigration is really weird at this time. To me, at least.
Yeah.
I just find it strange.
And I think it's also pretty important to mention, right before they go into exile into the United States, Santa Anna and his supporters declare this, what's called this Plan of Cuernavaca. And the plan, they declare it in the city of Cuernavaca, Mexico, May 25th, 1834. And the plan basically is in opposition to the liberal reforms of the administration of Gomez Farias.
Okay, yeah. Against the, the Farias are known as the Federalist.
Yeah. So Santa Anna at this time has the support of the clergy, obviously, who were a big target of these reforms. So after they regain power, all the laws that were in place by the administration of Farias end up being repealed. And they were only there for like 10 months. So they don't really have a... Yeah.
This is like Republicans and Democrats, man.
And not only that, this is an important thing to remember. They dissolved the Congress. And they dismissed...
Who's they, though, in this context? Santa Anna and the Centralist?
Yes.
The Centralist, okay.
They dissolved the Congress, and they dismissed the officials who implemented the reform measures. And this is where he really begins to consolidate and exercise power. This is when we really see a dictatorship. This is when we see a period in Mexican history called the Centralist Republic.
Huh.
At this time, it's still called, the Mexican Republic, República Mexicana, but it's kind of taking on this new identity. And it's established officially October 23rd, 1835. They establish a new constitution known as the Seven Laws. And it's meant to replace the Federalist Constitution of 1824. So this new...
Well, they're just taking advantage of all this instability.
Right. So instability, remember, this is a key thing to keep in mind about this time period. Instability and caudillismo.
Yeah, man.
So this new constitution, it's called the Seven Laws, or in Spanish, Siete Leyes. It's a series of constitutional changes that fundamentally altered the organizational structure of the government. And it creates a unitary republic. So it's formalized under Santa Anna, December 15, 1835, and they are officially enacted in 1836. So they kind of carry out like the centralist agenda. They centralize and strengthen the national government, whereas the previous constitution was actually trying to more or less emulate the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
But one of the leading reasons why they couldn't accomplish that was because of the political turmoil, like the economic crisis, and the general instability, in addition to foreign invasion. Because I think this is, if I remember right, I think Spain hasn't yet recognized Mexico. If I could be wrong though. But the short version is that Mexico is kind of in a hot mess right now. So, so what are the seven laws, you might be wondering? So the first one is, it states that the 15 articles of the first law grant citizenship to those who could read Spanish and had an annual income of 100 pesos, except for male domestic workers who didn't have the right to vote, nor did women of any social class. So women can't vote. It's kind of privileging a very select group of people to be citizens and to exercise the right to vote. The second law allows the president to close Congress and suppress the Supreme Court. And it also forbids military officers from assuming the office. So the third law, the 58 articles of the third law establish a bicameral Congress?
Cameral? Yeah.
Bicameral, thanks. Bicameral Congress of deputies and senators elected by government organs. Deputies have 4-year terms, and senators have 6-year terms. So the fourth law, the 34 articles of the fourth law specified that the Supreme Court, the Senate of Mexico, and the meeting of the ministers each nominate 3 candidates, and the lower house of the legislature would select from those 9 candidates the president and the vice president. The fifth law establishes an 11-member Supreme Court elected in the same manner as the president and vice president. The sixth law, 31 articles, it replaces the former federal republics, nominally sovereign states, with centralized departments. And it's kind of inspired after what's called the French model.
Yeah.
And its governors and legislatures are designated by the president. And guess who's the president, of course? Santa Anna. And the final law, the seventh law, prohibits reverting to pre-reform laws for 6 years. So no matter what, there's just a period of 6 years where Even if it passes through the system, there is no going back to any pre-reform laws. So this is kind of like the new structure of the Centralist Republic of Mexico.
Okay.
And as you can see, it's much more authoritarian and dictatorial.
Yeah. So that's also inspiring them, the settlers in Texas, to revolt, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And this way, too, this republic or this new government, it's also securing Santa Anna's support by like the power holders in Mexico at this time. So aside from the Catholic Church, it also threatened, or it also gained the support for Santa Anna of like political and social elites. Now, people who have like the most to gain by maintaining, these social hierarchies. So he's basically like this is where his power base is coming from, not just from the army, but also from like conservative factions, the church, economic and social elites as well.
Well, people who want to keep things the way they are, that's what conservative means.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we've got a good idea of what this new republic is looking like under Santa Anna.
Yeah.
You want to carry on?
Yeah, so let's get to the primary sources right now. Very important. So to set up the primary sources, let me say this first. So the revolution, the Texas Revolution. So as you know, the discontented Texans, the settlers, they revolted against the Mexican government in the year 1835. Mm-hmm. The first armed conflict took place on October 2nd in the small town of Gonzales, when a detachment of Mexican soldiers tried to confiscate a cannon that the Mexican government had previously given the town to defend against Native American raids. And Texans in Gonzales refused to turn over the cannon and fought Mexican soldiers in a small battle that left 2 Mexican soldiers dead. And so this battle inspired support and built momentum for a revolution against the Mexican government. And so what would happen over these next 6 months is that a rebel force of Texans battled the American army and eventually won independence after defeating Mexican forces under the same General Santa Anna at the Battle of San Jacinto. And so, have you pulled these primary sources up, by the way?
I have the primary sources up right here, reading like a historian.
Yeah. So I actually got these from my teacher resources. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we teach in school as well. And so we got 5 documents here, document A, B, C, and D, and E, and these are from both sides. So we're looking at this Texas Revolution and why did this revolution start? Why did Texas revolt against Mexico? We're going to look at what both sides of the issue say. And so the first document that we have is the Texas Declaration of Independence. And this is an excerpt from the Texas Declaration of Independence of March 2nd, 1836. It was drafted in only one day by delegates to the Convention of 1836, which had been called by leaders of the Revolution to discuss the future of Texas. And so this is very important because this is from the side of the settlers. This is their perspective. I know that we've been crapping on them, but still, we have to hear what they have to say because they were there. What did they say? All right. So, yeah, and this is real brief too. It's nothing that's like a million paragraphs. So here we go. This excerpt starts in 3, 2, 1. Beep. When a government has ceased to protect the lives, liberty, and property of the people, it is the right of the people to abolish such government and create another one that will secure their future welfare and happiness. All right.
Welfare. That's communism.
Yeah, and I love how they plagiarize too. Like everybody else has from the Declaration of Independence, the United States of America Declaration of Independence. And it continues. General Santa Anna has overturned the constitution of his country and now offers the cruel option either to abandon our homes or submit to the most intolerable of all tyranny. Okay, that's kind of like in response to when Santa Anna abolished the Mexican Constitution in 1835, like you were talking about. So the background you gave. Right. So
And
continuing.
he also
Oh,
limits the power of Mexican states to govern themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's especially the way these people who wrote this document saw it. And so continuing, the Mexican government has failed to establish any public system of education. That's interesting. It denies us the right of worshiping the Almighty as we want to. It has demanded that we give up our arms, our weapons, which are essential to our defense. Boy, this is sounding familiar, except for the public education one.
Damn, this is the first document in anything from Texas I've ever seen that cares about public education.
Yeah. It has invaded our country by both sea and by land with intent to lay waste our territory and drive us from our homes. Really, your country.
Your country, huh?
It has encouraged the merciless Indians to massacre the inhabitants of our defenseless frontiers. We, therefore, do hereby resolve and declare that our political connection with the Mexican nation has forever ended, and that the people of Texas do now constitute a free and independent republic. Whew. I didn't see anything in there about slavery, did you?
No, that's kind of, I mean, this is an excerpt, granted. We've read an excerpt, but this is kind of like the key grievances, right? Like, they have conveniently left out, in this section anyway, among the key important reasons for their secession from Mexico was the desire to preserve slavery.
Well, you know what? Let's actually go to not just an excerpt, but let's see this entire document for what it is, and let's see if we can find the word slavery in it. So let's find the actual document here.
We're going to Control F.
Yeah, and we're going to Control F it.
That's not the worst thing we've said so far, let's be honest.
So where can I find... okay, here it is. I think I've got it. All right, so I found it. Want me to send it to you?
Go right ahead.
All right. Interesting, right? Let's see if the word slavery comes up here. All right, so here we are. So we have the full, unabridged, unexcerpted Texas Declaration of Independence, made in the second day of March, April 36. Let's see if we can find the word slavery. Nothing's coming up. Slave.
Nope.
Nothing's coming up. Let's see if we can find maybe words in this. Let's scan this document here. Okay. Sovereign states.
I can't find anything to do with servants, as in indentured servants. They've left that out. Wonder why.
Interesting. So there's nothing here about slaves. So check this out, ladies and gentlemen. You're like, all right, why are y'all, Martin and Cornbread, why are you going such into detail about this? Because, check this out. Say I'm a student, or say that I'm just doing research on the reasons why these settlers declared independence from Mexico. These Texas settlers declared independence from Mexico, and this is my primary source. And this is a primary source, ladies and gentlemen. And this is your primary source.
Although I will also cut in and say, it's not just Anglo settlers. You do have Tejanos citing this document too. Because Tejanos, like Anglo settlers, also own slaves.
Yeah. Yep. So if you only know this primary source and you don't look at other primary sources, you're going to say that this wasn't about slavery. You're gonna say, "Oh man, this wasn't about them wanting to keep slaves. What are you talking about? It doesn't say anywhere in this document about slavery." I found one thing. I found this in the unedited Texas Declaration of Independence. I found this complaint. Mexico, has demanded of us to deliver up our weapons or our arms, which are essential to our defense, the rightful property of free men, and formidable only to tyrannical governments. So this is the only thing that I'm finding here in this document.
So you can read free men in a couple of different lights. But we are talking about people who own slaves. So on the one hand, I would say it's impossible to say with 100% certainty they're talking about legal free men. But
Yeah.
free men in the sense that they are free from tyranny, or they are free from like the boot heel of some kind of ruthless, unjust authority kind of sense.
Oh yeah, so like I'm free. So it could mean that.
Free in the
Yeah.
sense that the founding fathers were free in the United States.
Yeah, other than that, I don't see anything other than the word property.
So in that particular document, it is, I mean, you can't really prove one way or the other that slavery was a factor.
Yeah.
It is, I think, still noteworthy to keep in mind that slavery is not mentioned once at all in a state whose economy is largely dependent on slavery.
Good point. Yep. Excellent
because
point.
it did mention the property of free men. What includes the property of free men in this context, in this situation, this historical context?
Slaves.
Precisely.
Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, if you just read this document on the face of it, and you didn't know about the history of slavery in this in Mexican Texas, you would probably say, yeah. I mean, these guys are right. I mean, yeah, they want the right to worship. They want public systematification. They want their guns. They don't want their. Funny, it has invaded our country.
Your country,
That's
bruh.
fucking hilarious.
You were born in New York, first of all. Man, I really wonder why that old Disney version, like miniseries of Davy Crockett, didn't mention the slavery bit. Is there a reason for that?
Well, it's Disney.
Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier.
And speaking of Tejanos, who actually fought in the Texas Army against the Mexican government, there was this Tejano officer named Juan Seguin?
Seguin.
I'm not sure how to pronounce the G in Spanish.
I think in this case it's Seguin.
Seguin, okay. Juan Seguin, a Tejano officer Army. And document B is Juan Seguin's speech on April 4th, 1837, at the burial site for the Texas soldiers that were killed at the Battle of the Alamo, which was a famous battle in which the Mexican army overran a fort in San Antonio, held by about 200 Texans, and killed nearly all inside. And that was part of the War for Independence for Texas.
Now it's your turn to mess up the name.
Texaco! Isn't that like an oil company?
It's like a gas station.
Yeah.
Let me see. Texaco.
You want to read?
It's a Texas like oil brand. It's part of Chevron.
So, what does Juan Seguin say in this speech? It's short and sweet, actually.
Let's see. Companions in arms, these remains which we have the honor of carrying on our shoulders are those of the brave heroes who died in the Alamo. Yes, my friends, they preferred to die 1,000 times rather than submit themselves to the tyrant's yoke. Yes, soldiers and fellow citizens, these are the worthy beings who, by the twists of fate, delivered their bodies to the ferocity of their enemies. I invite you to declare to the entire world, Texas shall be free and independent, or we shall perish in glorious combat. But he probably said that in Spanish.
All right, so based on this, our essential question: why did the Texan settlers revolt against Mexican government? According to this source, to get rid of the tyrant's yoke, to be free from Mexico.
You see, Santa Anna was trying to cover the state of Texas in egg yolks, so they didn't like that. Santa Anna was a weird guy, actually.
It's crazy, man. So I think probably document A and document B both agree that this was about freedom from Mexico.
From their perspectives, yes.
From their perspective, yeah. Okay. How about this document C, the Manchola letter? So from
a politician from Coahuila y Tejas.
Go ahead with the name. Rafael
Manchola. It's him writing the following about Anglo-Americans in an 1826 letter to a military commander. So this is before this is even breaking out. So here's some of the Mexican perspective. We cannot trust the Anglo-American colonists because they are continually demonstrating that they refuse to follow our laws unless it is convenient for them. We will have many problems if we do not stop their disrespectful behavior by stationing soldiers and a Mexican judge in each settlement. They have been using their own colonists as judges and practicing their own laws, forgetting that they swore to obey the laws of Mexico.
Okay.
So, again, it kind of is more of a callback to our previous episode where a lot of the settlers in the state of Texas, the Anglo-American ones, are kind of building their own institutions, more or less, to counteract the Mexican ones.
Yeah.
Their own authorities, so they can defy and impose their own laws upon themselves and others.
Yeah, even creating their own judges, I guess.
Yeah. It's like imagining trying to do that crap now. Like,
yeah.
You just go in and you're like, no, I don't want the Supreme Court. I'm going to we just make our own Supreme Court to replace the one in the state of Ohio.
Yeah. Well, imagine, immigrants coming into this country and they make their own judges and they practice their own laws.
So there's another interesting document, document D, the Burnett letter. So this is an excerpt from a 1836 letter written by David G. Burnett, a New Jersey-born leader of the Revolution, to one Senator Henry Clay of the United States. That's a name I've heard before. One general fact may account for all. The utter dissimilarity of character between the two people, the Texians and the Mexicans. The first are principally Anglo-Americans. The others, oh boy, this is...
Oh boy, here we go.
Forgive me, audience, I'm quoting
racism
here.
Trigger warning.
It's a racism trigger warning coming. The others, a mongrel race of degenerate Spaniards and Indians more depraved than they. Wow, straight up fucking racism.
Ooh. And this is a leader who was born in. This was a leader of the revolution who was born in New Jersey.
Yeah.
On this man.
The fucking caucasity of this guy. He
So
moved.
he's calling the Texians, as he calls them, the Texians. He's calling them a mongrel race of degenerate Spaniards and Indians, and he's calling. Wait, no, wait a minute. No, he's calling the Texians. He's calling the Texians Anglo-Americans, and the Mexicans. He's calling them a mongrel race of degenerate Spaniards and Indians.
Mind you, this guy arrived in Coahuila y Tejas at Stephen Austin's colony back in
Oh, God.
1826 because
Oh,
he
wow.
received a land grant as an impresario.
He was given free land.
Yeah, but he later had to sell it for some reason or another. So he's salty. He's salty Dave. Dirty Dave.
He's real dirty, Dave.
He's a real dirty Dave, let me tell you. Racist ass motherfucker. I don't care if you're a product of your time, David G. Burnett. Fuck you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, gosh, like what? Like, why would you ever call anybody a quote unquote mongrel race of degenerate Spaniards and Indians?
No one invited your ass. Well, actually, I mean, you got a free land grant, but you probably had to apply for it.
This podcast, right? When we talk about this stuff, I want somebody who in the United States of America right now, one of those people who says, "Yeah, I don't want all these foreigners in our country, these damn Mexican immigrants taking our jobs, and we got to learn Spanish." What would they say to all of this, right? Would they have the mental capacity, the empathy to say, "Wait a minute, wait, this already happened before? What is this?" I don't know.
Nothing is new under the sun.
Nothing. Take us out of here with document E, bro, and I gotta feed my dog his treat.
Okay, go feed your dog your treats.
BRB.
BRB. So, we're going to read document E, something called the Lundy pamphlet. So, what's the Lundy pamphlet? The subtext says, the following is from an 1836 pamphlet called War in Texas by Benjamin Lundy, a well-known American abolitionist. Oh, this guy's probably cool. The pamphlet helped convince influential American leaders to oppose the annexation of Texas. All right, so let's dive in and see what this is all about. Bum-bum. We have been asked to believe that the inhabitants of Texas have been fighting to maintain the sacred principles of liberty and the natural, inalienable rights of man, whereas their motives have been exactly the opposite. The immediate cause and main goal of this war, led by the slaveholders of this country with land speculators and slave traders, has been to grab the large and valuable territory of Texas from the Mexican Republic in order to reestablish the system of slavery, in all capital letters, the system of slavery, to open a vast and profitable slave market, in all capital letters, and ultimately to annex it to the United States. So here is a voice of dissension coming from an American, no less. This is a guy who doesn't believe this is a guy who's calling bullshit on the whole pursuit of liberty and happiness bullshit. He is calling it out for what he sees.
This guy's a critical thinker.
Yeah, this guy seems cool. Way cooler than David G. Burnett, Dirty Dave. We're going to call him Dirty Dave from now on.
I would say though, if we want to think like a historian here, we do have to note his bias, because it says there in this sourcing information here, it says that he was a well-known American abolitionist. So he is biased in that perspective. That's
true. So it is possible that his bias towards slavery perhaps could be clouding the motivations of the people participating in this war of independence of sorts. Yeah. So that is possible. And I have to check my own biases, of course, as
Yeah.
well. But that
Yep.
said, I'm still going to say I'm inclined to agree with them based on everything we learned.
No, yeah, I am inclined to agree with him as well. But yeah, we do have to check our confirmation bias, right? That's why there's so many people on the internet right now believing conspiracy bullcrap theories, right? So check your confirmation bias at the door. Just because I agree with this Mr. Lundy, it doesn't mean that his perspective is correct. It doesn't automatically mean his perspective is correct. But based on what we've learned these past episodes, this guy nails it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are our 5 primary sources. Very important that we get those in here, especially when we talk about history and conduct historical inquiry.
We got a lot of perspective in that one.
Yeah. So I also think Document A, the Texas Declaration of Independence, I also think it's a good example of don't always believe everything your government tells you, I guess. Because even though they wrote all those highfalutin bougie things, for lack of a better term, even though they wrote all of that, it still doesn't mean that that's what they were fighting for. So, yeah, that's why we're going to need that's why we used other sources here to either corroborate or refute what they were talking about.
That's a good point.
Absolutely, man.
And now, granted, despite our opinions of the people writing the sources, such as the Texas Declaration of Independence, now they do point out one legitimate factoid was the increasing authoritarianism of the government of Mexico under Santa Anna. He did, in fact, abolish the former federal constitution and replaced it with the Siete Leyes, the 7 laws. Which was
like you were saying.
The centralist constitution.
And he's drinking over there.
Your dog is drinking?
Yeah, so much history, it blew his mind. He's got to get a drink now.
His brain is trying to process all this information, but it's like, I need water. Bork, bork, bork.
But it's so interesting to me because what I like about this when we're looking at multiple perspectives is that it allows us to check that confirmation bias, right? That bias that says, oh, I believe this, and this confirms what I already believe. It allows us to check that stuff at the door. And we're also able to see the perspectives of the Anglo settlers, right? The Texan settlers, which is also a couple Tejanos and mostly Anglo-Americans. We also see that perspective as well, like you said. They have a legitimate grievance in that Santa Anna is became a dictator.
Right.
Yeah. So let this be a lesson for all of you out there. Check your confirmation bias at the door, and when you conduct a historical inquiry, use multiple documents, multiple perspectives, primary sources, no electives, and get it in. I don't know.
Get it in?
I don't know. Flowing, man.
You gotta make it fit,
Yeah. But anyway, where should we go next with this, man?
I think, because we are almost at the 2-hour mark. We're like 5 till 2. So how about next week will be our finale? Because we're finally at the point of revolution.
Oh, okay. We want to talk about things that happened afterwards, like the Mexican-American War, or what should we talk about?
I think the annexation of Texas will probably be the good stopping off point.
Okay.
Because I feel like you could do a whole other series about the Mexican-American War. And I would actually like to do one. But to kind of keep things within a specific time frame.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good one.
So we'll talk about the I
because
guess maybe the Alamo and some of the key events of the Texas Revolution and then the Republic of Texas. Many of y'all don't know that out there, that Texas, before, so Texas was first a Mexican territory. Then it became its own republic, its own little country, I guess you could say. And then it became a state of the United States of America.
and I
Ooh.
think it's the last. It will be a good spot for the last episode because I think we're all pretty well introduced now with a lot of the key players. We obviously know who Santa Ana is.
Oh, yeah.
We know who Sam Houston is. We know who Stephen Austin is.
Stephen F. Austin,
Stephen F. Austin, of course.
What?
What? And we have a pretty good...
Son.
We have a background for the big event, you know?
Yeah.
Like how Texas becomes Texas. And we've learned a lot about how Texas became Texas before there was a Texas.
Yeah. And it's been fascinating. I didn't know that about the slavery.
You didn't know what about the slavery?
I didn't know that about the rich history of slavery in Texas.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
I did not know that.
Like, I think it's one of the reasons why I believe Texas was part of the Confederacy later on. Yep, Texas was part of the Confederate States in 1862, believe it or not. And boy, I wonder what the big reason for that is. Why would Texas join the Confederacy, huh? Truly a proud moment in Texas history.
And I think, too, before we get out of here, even though we've been taking a critical look at the history of Texas, we are by no means against the people of Texas.
Texas is a lot of different people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of rural city divide and a lot of different political opinions too. And of course, the only place I've ever been in Texas is San Antonio, and I would live there if the government were different, I guess, of Texas.
Yeah, and not only that, like we should keep in mind about how diverse Texas is. Because when we talk about Texas, we usually have the image, like in terms of people, we have the image of, like the gun-toting conservative with the big truck, but who is white. But that's like one part of the mosaic of Texas.
Oh yeah,
like
I heard Austin's pretty quote unquote liberal, I guess.
Yeah, you have all kinds of people. You have black folks. You have folks from the Middle East. You have folks from East Asia. You have not only Mexican folks there, but you also have Chicanos.
Yeah,
who are a pretty diverse group themselves. You have people from Europe. You have all kinds of people. Like, I don't think the white Anglo-American Texan gets to be the Texan.
The Texan, that's a very good point. Very good point. And I saw something too about Megan Thee Stallion coming out against the abortion law, the recent law that passed too.
Oh yeah,
So you got a good musical culture down there as well.
Absolutely. Dang, we could have actually talked about that federal judge blocking the abortion ban.
Oh yeah, and then suddenly it gets unblocked, I guess.
I don't know about that.
Because what the fuck is this? Facebook or something? Or Twitter? You get blocked and then unblocked? Because I think... we can talk about that next week, I guess.
Oh, looks like they're banned again after a court ruling? What the fuck?
That's what I'm saying. This is like Twitter. Blocking and unblocking people and shit. Who's Twitter, the laws of Twitter. Twitter laws.
A federal appeals court.
Oh, okay.
Ay. All right, folks. Thank you once again for joining us on this lovely, exciting conversation, an exploration of the history of Texaco, as Martin calls it. The company, the petrol company. But the history of Mexico and Texas. We are going to be talking about the finale next week. We're finally there. And we're going to end with the Texan Revolution and the aftermath of the Texan Revolution.
Yeah, we started about the causes in like the last couple episodes, and now we're going to proceed.
We got the actors. We have the stage. The world is a stage. So,
amen.
Before we roll out, make sure to check us out on Twitter. Follow us at Ministrymodus for all kinds of extra content, spicy takes, and more importantly, updates. Reach out to us at Martin and Cornbread at Ministrymodus. Oh, wait. I got the email address wrong.
gmail.com.
It's so if you want to shoot us an email, I've had a long day. If you want to shoot us an email, shoot us an email at martinandcornbread@gmail.com. Send us a death threat. Send us your love notes. Send us questions. Send us whatever. We probably won't care what you send, but we'll probably still be interested to read it anyway. And again, make sure you follow us at Twitter at Ministrymodus. So, any parting words, Martin?
Nothing other than thank you for the journey that we've been on today. Now it's time to go take it with our week and go on our merry way.
All right, folks. Well said, as always.
I spontaneously break into rhymes sometimes.
I'll give you the final word, but just make it rhyme.
Texas, Texas, where have you been? Your history's so fascinating. Time and time again. So therefore, Texas, as we go forth into our week, Texas, Texas, you big old freak. We love you. So much so that we've dedicated 5 different shows. And if that doesn't prove our love and loyalty to you, we're gonna take that Lone Star and give it back and make us blue. Goodbye, Texas. We'll see you next week. We're out of here. And as we speak, we love and hold you dear. Texas, goodbye. Goodbye forever, my dear.